How to be a better Indian? Behold, the Bollywood war movies. In all honesty, my choice of Bollywood movies have always been the most popular ones, so I apologize in advance. But this also works for this video since these movies are popular for a reason. And man, does Bollywood truly love Pakistan. These war movies portray brave Indian soldiers putting their lives on the line, countering, attacking, and technically waging a war against an ever powerful nuclear weapon owning nation, a greedy expansionist who invades the border of our country, India, that is Bharat, and encroaches our land, the China.
What?
Pakistan. It's Pakistan. Anywho, I need not mention the long list of war movies from the Bollywood that fought Pakistan. All of us know them. But why is Bollywood obsessed with war movies? Many of us have the similar answers, but I'm actually more curious to know why Tamil film industry is not even remotely close to the number of such war movies. The simple response to that would be, why? Why should Bollywood make war films? Nobody is forcing them to make one. It's just a matter of choice and preference after all. There could be any number of reasons for it. But this obviously thickens the line that differentiates North and South, particularly Tamil Nadu. Given the current political climate, I wouldn't be surprised if people jump the gun and say it's because Tamils are not nationalistic. They fought for federalism, did not want to be under one signal governance, hated Hindi as the official language. It's a minority appeasing state. They fought for separate nation, or even worse, they rejected Sanatana. But that just can't be the reason, right? Tamils fought in the freedom movement. Many are there. But apart from Rajaji, can the northern belt name 5? Think of the most popular freedom fighters you know. If you can at least come up with 5 South Indian, you truly are a minority in this country. So be careful. It is a known fact that the freedom movement was dominated by the northern countrymen. The masses kind of forgot who the freedom fighters from the southern states were, with a handful of exceptions. But one can't just say the lack of pan-Indian appeal for the Tamil freedom fighters simply turns the state into an anti-national, non-patriotic. No, and there is this serious need to prove one's Indianness these days. But prove to whom? Topic for another day. There are several Tamil movies that have dealt with the wars, but not necessarily with Pakistan. Many movies that happen to have Pakistan enemies tend to be counter-terrorist movies, or movies that talk not about the glory of wars or the celebration of it, but about the consequences of war, the lives destroyed and families torn apart. Even if war movies are made, it is either historical, of the Cholas and the freedom movement, or of literature such as the Mahabharata or popular Ponniyin Selvan. And even if there are stories that are built around conflict such as Bombay, Roja or Kannathil Muttamittai, all by Mani Ratnam by the way, they do not side with the glory and the valor of war. They lack the glamour of the fighter movie that hit the screens last week. The movies from Bollywood spoke of the lives of people who were mostly collateral damage. In Tamil war-related movies, the narrative makes us not see the glamour of the war, but the bitter ramifications of the war. Bollywood has moved on from the past, at least from the war, as if they decided not to beat the dead horse anymore. Also, it is as if Bollywood does not need to make war movies to validate their patriotism. Spread the joys of nationalism, bask in and enjoy the pride of being an Indian every 6 months. One would also notice that Tamil movies focus a lot on internal and regional conflicts of the state, such as oppressors in the terms of caste and class. Even with the recent movie Captain Miller, which many of us may not agree to be a full-fledged war movie, is still a movie on the freedom struggle, but with the story not stuck in one plot point, not just fighting the colonizers, but the casteist oppressors too. The story fights oppressors, be they local or imported. Simply put, for Bollywood, there are a lot more things to worry about. One might bring up late Captain Vijaykanth to make points about the existence of Pakistani villains in movies. Still, the sheer number of Bollywood high-budget war movies with a pan-Indian appeal can just not be paralleled. Action King Arjun might also make it a point to fight the terrorist, as he did in his 1994 Jai Hind movie and in several other movies. But Arjun's Jai Hind 2 focused on providing education to the poor. Interesting. The intertwining of media and military in India over the past decade has significant consequences. Criticism of the government policies is often met with argument of soldiers sacrificing their lives for the nation, creating a narrative that questions against the government as unpatriotic. You ask questions, you are swiftly retorted with, "Do you know how many soldiers have died for this country?" Putting an effective end to dissent. Further probing is only going to make you an anti-national. This narrative, widely accepted by many Indians relying on the mainstream media, equates questioning the government with anti-national sentiment. The media-military connection emphasizes Pakistan as the primary threat, subtly introducing religion and portraying Indian Muslims as internal security concerns. This not only politicizes the military but also communalizes an institution traditionally considered apolitical and non-religious. There is obviously more to this, and let's look at Hollywood for a second. In a research paper by Matthew Alford titled "A Propaganda Model for Hollywood," he points out something interesting, familiar but still interesting. What these lines essentially mean is that the control mechanism in Hollywood narratives often relies on the portrayal of a polarized representation of good and evil, with the audience typically supporting the good guys. During the Cold War, communists were frequently depicted as convenient enemies in movies, reflecting a broader societal perspective that viewed communism as the ultimate evil. Mr. Alford brings Herman and Chomsky into this and says that they argue that this perception that we talk about is rooted in the threat that communism poses to the class position and superior status of the powerful. Let me say that again. The powerful elite view communism as a threat because it challenges their economic interests and social standing. It is made to appear evil because the elites do not want it to change the public opinion that they have built. The concept of communism being fuzzy can be manipulated to label anyone advocating policies perceived as a threat to property interests or supporting accommodations with communist states and radicalism. This portrayal of other contributes to a culture of irrational fear in the East-West relations, as explored in Adam Curtis' documentary series The Power of Nightmares, which draws parallels between the US neoconservative movement and the Islamic fundamentalism. This isn't going to be new to most people, but the reason I bring this here is to show that nothing has changed. Theories of media existed since the early 20th century. Just through these lines, we can draw a lot of parallels between India and the USA. Of course, these kinds of papers and research have led to discourses and possibly some awareness, but the awareness does not translate to understanding, which should pave the way to developing political consciousness. War movies we see today do not challenge power, not the internal ones at least. These usually exist as a celebration of the ruling government's prowess, valor, heroics, and more importantly, making sure it is clear who the enemy is in the public opinion. So the next time another war movie hits the screen, which probably won't take too long, let's just a little bit for a second step back and ask, why?